Meet the Apostle Paul. He discipled a man named Timothy and wrote him a letter, and we call the letter 2 Timothy. And in chapter 2, he begins with, "You therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. The things which you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." So as you look at the instructions that the Apostle Paul gave Timothy, he's saying the things that I taught you, you're going to teach faithful men who will teach others as well. That's 4 generations. So we begin to see the multiplication process. Paul disciples Timothy, Timothy disciples faithful men, and then those faithful men invest in others. And notice it isn't just one at a time. If it's just one person, then it's addition. But once we get past the one and we begin to disciple 2 or more, now we start to see multiplication. Now, when we look at the characteristics of the men that Paul told Timothy to invest in, he says, invest in faithful men. And so he continues his admonition to Timothy by talking about 3 different characters with specific character traits: the soldier, the athlete, and the farmer. Let's look at verse 3. "Suffer hardship with me as a good soldier in Christ Jesus. No soldier in active service entangles himself in the affairs of everyday life, so that he may please the one who enlisted him as a soldier." To me, the soldier exhibits faithfulness. Even in the face of suffering, he continues and he does the right thing. He's also available. Notice he doesn't entangle himself in the affairs of everyday life. He's committed to pleasing the one who enlisted him. Next, we move on to the athlete, verse 5. "Also, if anyone competes as an athlete, he does not win the prize unless he competes according to the rules." To me, the athlete exhibits teachability. He knows the rules, he abides by the rules. He knows the principles, he abides by the principles. Of course, an athlete has to be faithful and available as well. So we add this next characteristic of teachability to the athlete. And then Paul goes on to the farmer in verse 6. "The hard-working farmer ought to be the first to receive his share of the crops." Now, when we look at the farmer, he's producing crops. He's fruitful. He's reproducing. And so the farmer not only exhibits the traits of faithfulness and availability and teachability, but here we see the farmer being fruitful, reproducing. Now we have an acrostic that we use for these character traits, and it's called fatter. We're looking for fatter people, faithful, available, teachable, reproducing. And then they invest in others. Now we have this tool called 139. 139 really helps us to zero in on just a few people. It asks the question, Okay, who are the most faithful, available, teachable, and reproducing people that I should be focused on? We can't invest in everyone, so we're going to help a lot of people, but we want to focus on a few. I have a saying, if you focus on everyone, you're focused on no one. So we begin with the number 1. You are the one. And then you disciple 3. Of course, you can have 1, but if we're just doing 1, then it's not getting to multiplication, it's just addition. So we need to begin to disciple more if we can. So maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 12. Jesus had 12. But that should be a clue to us. If the Son of God only had 12, what does that say for us? Usually, people with a full-time job, with a family, they can disciple 3 people. And of course, when those 3 take on 3 to disciple, that's your 9. So now we start to see multiplication. But it's that tool to focus in on faithful, available, teachable, reproducing disciples that will multiply until there's no place left.